Hey there, you guys. This is Jaden Pictures here. This is Jaden talking right here with yet another thoughts video. And what is this thoughts video about? Simple. This thoughts video will involve me sharing my thoughts on the Mr. Bean episode that is called The Visitor. Yeah, I just finished watching this episode off of YouTube. And yeah, I'm going to share my thoughts on this episode. But before I do so, there's some things I want to explain before I do so. Just so you guys know, if you guys want to know how I ended up watching this episode of Mr. Bean, simple. This YouTuber named Mr. Bean Fan Disney 2005, which, that name should already tell you that this guy is a big fan of Mr. Bean. Yeah, he loves Mr. Bean. And yeah, he's asked me if I've seen Mr. Bean, and I think, I've told him about how I remember seeing a bit of Mr. Bean, like, when I was in middle school, during school when I was in middle school. And he requested me to watch the episode called The Visitor because he thinks that I would think it's funny, and I forgot to. Yeah, he requested me to watch this episode over a year. Not over a year. Over a week ago, at least over a week ago, and I forgot to watch it. And he's reminded me a couple of times to watch the episode, and he just asked me before I got the episode set up. He asked me if I had seen the episode. And I said no, and I said no, not yet. But I thought I might as well just go ahead and watch it now. Get this over with. Not saying Mr. Bean fan was being impatient or rude to me or anything like that. He was just being patient and checking. And I kept postponing watching this episode, and I thought, why not? Why don't I just watch this episode right now? I'm not really doing anything right now. Why don't I watch the episode The Visitor right now? I got a good chunk of time, and it doesn't seem like there will be dinner will be ready for another little bit. So yeah, I just got finished watching the episode, the Mr. Bean episode, The Visitor. I would have done a live reaction to it, but you guys know about how I don't do live reaction videos anymore because of copyright. And so instead, I'll make it. To prevent any copyright issues, I'll just make this video that lets you guys know what I think about the episode. And also, guys, before I do this. Spoiler alert, because I'm going to spoil some stuff in this episode to help prove that I have seen the episode and whatnot. Yeah, if you guys want to watch this episode called The Visitor, I'll leave a link to it down in the description below that shows a video that I watched this episode off of. And with all this being said, let's just get started. Okay, so you guys know that cliche plot they use on TV episodes a lot about how an unwanted visitor comes over to a person's house and crashes over there. Like a couple examples being the second episode of Sonic Boom and that one episode of the Looney Tunes show where Sam keeps visiting Bugs and Daffy and they're getting sick of his behavior and whatnot. Yeah, that's basically what this episode is, where an unwanted visitor comes over to the protagonist's home and drives him crazy and whatnot. And this episode is one of those episodes I think does it pretty well. Yeah, it involves Mr. Bean. This episode involves Mr. Bean himself being at home, and then the unwanted visitor comes over to Mr. Bean's house, and he walks down the stairs and answers it. And he meets his unwanted visitor, and it's this big fat guy. If I remember correctly, they never reveal his name in the episode. And throughout the whole episode, he drives Mr. Bean crazy by eating up all the food, stealing his teddy bear, taking his spot on his bed, making him sleep on the floor, all that stuff. Yeah, and it's pretty funny. He drives him insane, and he really wants him to leave and all that stuff. And he does all this stuff to try to get the rude fat visitor out of there. And okay, so what does Mr. Bean do to try to get the fat visitor out of his sight? Well, on the second night this visitor spends with Mr. Bean Fan. While he's sleeping, Mr. Bean does this trick where he calls up a taxi for the fat guy, and he pulls this chicken prank on him where he ties not chicken, but rather a turkey prank on him where he ties this big turkey to a rope that leads all the way out front to the taxi that Mr. Bean called up for him, and he makes him sleepwalk all the way to the turkey into the taxi, and he gets squished into the taxi, and he leaves, and Mr. Bean's plan works. But the problem is, as you know, the fat guy is being driven away, he realizes that Mr. Bean realizes that the fat guy still has his teddy bear, which he cares so much about. So obviously, he's not just gonna let the guy, ride away in a taxi with his teddy bear. So yeah, he obviously wants to get his teddy bear back. So what does he do? He follows him, of course. And what does he do as he's following him? Well, after they stop at the city, he tries to get this fat guy to give him back his teddy bear, which he stole. And and then they see a restaurant, and they go out to eat at this. They go out to eat at this restaurant as part of Mr. Bean's other plan to get his teddy bear back. And well, okay, at least only the fat guy eats at this restaurant, because Mr. Bean didn't eat at all. He just sent them there. They just stopped there as a way to make Mr. Bean's plan work. So yeah, only the guy eats when they're at the restaurant. And what does he get while they're at the restaurant? Of course, since he's fat, the whole restaurant, everything, the whole menu, and he eats it all up, has a great time eating it all up. And then he has this big bill to pay, and of course he can't afford the bill, so he pokes blame at Mr. Bean to get him to order the food for him. And as they're looking for Mr. Bean to get him to order the food, they can't find him. So what they do, they point the line, they trace the line back to the fat guy and make him, have to pay the bill by doing a bunch of dishes. And as the guy is doing the dishes, Mr. Bean, sneaks up through an open window, and he's able to grab his teddy bear behind the fat guy's back, and he's able to get his teddy bear back. And as a result, he wins, and the fat guy loses, and that guy is out of Mr. Bean's sight, like he wants him to be, and he has his teddy bear back. And that's the end of the episode. The end. Okay, so we got the summary stuff out of the way to prove that I've actually seen the episode. Now, what are my actual thoughts on the episode? Because that's the big part of the video. What do I think of this episode, Mr. Bean? Well, I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was pretty funny. I thought it was really enjoyable. It was well animated. It had a really interesting plot, even though this definitely isn't the first time the whole plot of an unwanted visitor coming over to visit a protagonist's house. Yeah, even though that plot's been done many times on TV before. But yeah, I'm still not that I'm annoyed by that cliche, though, although it really is true that they do use that plot a lot on TV. Not that I blame them, because I do really like that plot. And this here is no exception, because I think it's pretty funny how that guy came over to Mr. Bean's house, and he was driving him crazy by eating up so much food, giving him a hard time, even eating both ice cream cones. That eating both ice cream cones that Mr. Bean paid for both him and himself. Yeah, and the guy even gets an extra ice cream cone after that, and eats that up. Yeah, he eats like crazy, steals Mr. Bean's teddy bear, all that stuff, drives him crazy, becomes a terrible roommate to him. So yeah, and Mr. Bean, doing all this stupid stuff to get the fat guy out of his sight is pretty funny, and there's pretty funny humor in the episode too. And yeah, I really liked it. Yeah, I did enjoy this episode. It was worth my time. I enjoyed it. And yeah, it's a really good episode, and yeah, it makes me understand, and it does make me understand why a Mr. Bean fan loves Mr. Bean, as his channel name clearly makes clear. And I can see why he loved Mr. Bean, because from what I've seen of Mr. Bean so far, it is an enjoyable comedy cartoon. And it is an enjoyable comedy cartoon, and it has a nice animation, nice humor, nice slapstick that people like me who love comedic and slapstick cartoons should get a good kick out of. Yeah, how would I rate this episode on a scale of 1 to 10? Like a 7 or 8. Like a 7 or 8. It was a really good episode. It's a good episode. It's enjoyable. It's nice. It's funny. And yeah, I guess I would recommend it for Mr. Bean fans out there. And yeah, that's my thoughts on the Mr. Bean episode, you guys. If you guys want to see the Mr. Bean episode itself, again, a link to it will be in the description below. And yeah, I thank Mr. Bean for requesting me to watch this episode. It was worth my time. And that's all for this video, you guys. Bye, everyone. Happy holidays, and thank you all for watching this video.